Welcome into another episode right here on sportsbookreview.com. This is the Major League Baseball show, and you're only seeing one guy on camera right now. Hey, if you guys didn't know out there, it is a tropical storm heading up the coast, specifically where Jason and I both are in New Jersey. I was knocked out with power early in the day. Jason is a little bit farther north. He has his power out currently right now, but have no fear. Donnie is here. We got a nice little half-hour run to about 40 minutes. We're going to go over each and every game in Major League Baseball the same way we do every day right here. And the good thing about it here is, even though you don't see Jason on camera right next to me, I got his plays today and also his banker play. And who knows? Maybe he even shows up in the chat box and certainly can provide some knowledge that we have. But it's going to be a lot of chat box today, a lot of going over these games, of having, let's just say, what do we got? Maybe a dozen or so games. And how about this? Let's start here today with a little bit of a recap from yesterday. Soroka goes down with an Achilles injury. That's going to damage the Atlanta Braves certainly throughout the rest of the summer. Lose one of your top young pitchers in this short sprint. Certainly not going to have a good vibe for the rest of the year. But how about what we're about to talk about right here? The Philadelphia Phillies go up to the Bronx yesterday and get beat up by the New York Yankees. No surprise there, Jake Arrieta. Thanks, man. 5 innings, 3 earned runs, Cy Young Award material right there. But how about this? The Philadelphia Phillies, starting today, don't have a game, so they're going to go tomorrow. What about the Miami Marlins, who are going to play today in Baltimore? They had about 20 positive tests on their player roster. Philadelphia Phillies had none. They're going to play the same amount of games here. How amazing is that? That is 2020 in a nutshell. What's up, guys? Welcome in. Daniel, Jose, D, Dan, Robin, Abdul, James, all in the chat box and ready to go for this game today, or games today, I should say. If you haven't done so by now, we've got over 70 people watching 1 minute into the show. Thank you for that. Hit that subscribe button down low, and when you do that, hit the button whenever you get information from sportsbookreview.com. It will be delivered directly to your inbox. You can come in the chat box and say hello. If you're shocked right now, it's a single guy. No, Jason didn't leave us for greener pastures. Jason's just having a little bit of power struggle here. And hopefully, maybe even be able to join the show today. I doubt that, but certainly be back and ready to go tomorrow. This tropical storm, no fun here on the East Coast. Why don't we get started right away? Because we're taking a look here, 1:30 Eastern time as a tip-off. We got a game at 2:10. Yes, afternoon baseball. Let's see what happens here. Pittsburgh and Minnesota, 9:03, 9:04. It's going to be Musgrove versus Barrios. About 8 out of every 10 tickets coming in right now on Jose Barrios. The line opened up at 205, 220 across the board. That's now sitting in that 195 range. We did have a little bit of a movement here on the total. If you check out SBRodds.com, that opened up at 9, now dips down to 8.5. Let's get into some of the numbers of this game. And I do apologize. There's only one guy here. I usually like to pay a ton of attention to the chat, but sometimes when I'm going over these numbers for you guys out here, I'll get back to the chat once I wrap it up. We'll do sort of a, come back around and see what's going on. If we look at the lineups here, since we do have some lineups, typical in a 1:30 show that we have, most of the games are later in the day, 6:45, 6:10, 7 o'clock and after. We don't have the lineups to look at, but we do have those today. If we take a look today, Musgrove's going to be on the mound for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And looking at the overall lineup, every time we look at the Minnesota lineup, it looks pretty strong. You're taking a look at guys, if there's 9 men, 1 through 9, 7 of the 9 guys here have decent ISO percentages. That is a power that they use. Look at Max Kepler, a 458 ISO. Nelson Cruz, 267. Edwin Rosario, 292. Miguel Sano, 350. Gonzalez, 250. Alex Avila, a 750 ISO, and that is against right-handed pitchers, which is what Musgrove is. Musgrove on the season hasn't faced a lot of batters, and yet nobody really has yet in this early part of the Major League Baseball season. About 47 batters he's faced. If we take a look, his xFIP is 4.16 over there. But he does have a pretty good K percentage, striking out about 31% of the batters that he does face. Walk percentage a little bit high. Anytime you get in the double digits, 10% or higher, you're going to be putting men on base. And, hey, that's not going to lead to too many good things, especially when you're facing the Minnesota Twins. Now, the problem that Musgrove runs into is he gives up a little bit from the left-hand side. He's about average, but righties, through 17 batters this year, a weighted on-base average against him of 482. Keep in mind, a average weighted on-base average would be around that 320 range. So, obviously, 482 is really elevated. An ISO number from the right-hand side for him at 467. So that's going to play into it. Good lineup. Kepler, Polanco, Cruz, Rosario, Sano, Arias, Gonzalez, Avila, and Buxton will be on the side for the Minnesota hitters. And for Pittsburgh, not a lot to like here for me, to be honest with you. We're taking a look at Barrios. Normally, we like Barrios to be a little bit more dominant as is past. But this year, starting out just a little bit slow. He's only faced 40 batters this year, but struggling from both sides of the plate. Taking a look at his weighted on base average of 363 to lefties and 369 to righties. Both of those are elevated ISO power numbers. Lefties are catching him pretty good. If we take a look at the lefties in the lineup today for those Pittsburgh Pirates, you're going to get Frazier, Bell, Moran, Polanco, and Dyson. But if you roll through all the way down, they don't really handle right-handed bat. Look, this is a Pittsburgh team that we thought coming into the season was going to struggle to play. No surprise they're struggling. Only one guy in this lineup versus right-handed pitching is having success, and that's Colin Moran in the 4-hole. A 522 ISO, which is outrageous, through 25 at-bats, and a weighted on-base average of 477. Everybody is below. And look at the middle of this lineup, and this is going to be the toll here. Strikeout percentage for Berríos down this year, only striking out about 17% of his batters through the early part of the season. But if we go all the way down the list, look at these guys in the middle lineup. Josh Bell strikes out 40% of the time versus right-handed batters. How about Colin Moran? 32% of the time. How about Reynolds? 31% of the time. Look at Polanco, El Coffey, 46% of the time that he's up to bat versus a right-handed pitcher. He struck out this year. It's wild to see some of these stats go up. And look, the numbers are there for a reason. Minus 200, minus 220, 8 out of every 10 tickets coming in on the Twins. Is that something where you'd set the believe and say, hey, you know what? Pittsburgh Pirates might be a shot as a dog here in the early afternoon. I think it's going to be tough for them to score runs. And the one thing that you can bank on for the Minnesota Twins early on in this baseball season is they can hit, man. They really can hit. So it's one of those things where you just want to lean on the actual Twins lineup as opposed to the pitching. As long as Berríos doesn't get blown away in this game, 5 innings, 5 earned runs, they should be able to handle their business. Now, I don't actually like a side in this game, but I am kind of digging the Twins team total. I got to be honest. Good hitting weather out there in Minnesota today. I'm going to lean on the Twins team total over 4.5. It's a little bit juicy before the show, minus 135, but I don't see any reason off of Musgrove that they can't dial up some offense, get to that 5-run spot. I think they win the game, but I don't want to lay that heavy price. I'd rather dial it down a little bit and say, you know what? I think the Twins are going to score some runs today, and I'm going to certainly back them on the line over 4.5. Jose Farfan says Twins minus 1.5. Figures about a 6-3 game. And Nelson Cruz the home run. Arthur Me, good afternoon. Donnie RightSide. Hey, good afternoon to you as well, Arthur. Alex says Twins team total over. Thinking the same way as you, buddy. Really am here. Alex says let's pick all winners today. Mason Phelps says the over. The only problem I'm having with the over in this one, Mason, is the fact that I don't know if those Pittsburgh bats are going to come to play tonight. And that's the issue I have. I think, and again, we don't know. We don't have any locks out here, right? The Minnesota Twins should be able to get that 5 number. I'm not so sure if Pittsburgh can chase down at least 4 runs in this game, and that might be what you need in order to cash that total of the 8.5. I'd much rather be sitting here with the Minnesota Twins. T. Henderson, where's Jason? Jason has his power outage. If you haven't turned on the news right now, we are underwater Noah's Ark style here in New Jersey. And also right now, we are on the back end of it here in South Jersey where I'm at, where we're getting some high winds. So say a little prayer that we don't get knocked off the air. See, that's a nice little rhyme right there. 905, 906, let's keep it going right down the list. Cleveland and Cincinnati. Bieber and Maley on the mound today. 6 out of every 10 tickets coming in on the Cincinnati Reds. And why? You're getting a nice price today. If we take a look across the board at SBRodds.com, 161. 155, 166. So a nice mix match across the board. Also, a total coming in that opened up at 8 that now also sits at 8. Let's get in some of the numbers of these games with the pitching matchup and some of the anticipated batters that we have. Keep in mind out there, people, this is a 6:10 start tonight. The Battle of Ohio. When we're looking at Maley on the mound, and I actually like this angle coming into the game. Forget about picking a side if you like Bieber, if you like Maley. I'll get over. Also, Jason does have a play on this game. I'm going to go over in just a few moments. But from my perspective in this game, I'm looking at Maley on the mound. How about this? He's only faced 18 batters this season. You're going to get into a lot of that each and every day that goes by, each and every week that goes by in Major League Baseball. We're going to be able to update these numbers to get an even better feel for the season. But in the early season, he's got a 1.97 xFIP. That means he's striking guys out at a decent clip, over 20%. He's not giving away too many free passes at about 5% of the batters that he does face. He is getting into a little bit of trouble with weighted on base average against lefties in the lineup. And that's the difference tonight, where it might come in where you say, you know what? We think the Cleveland Indians might be able to hit in this game, but I don't think they can, because we're taking a look, and when we try to surmise what we like between the pitching matchup and the hitting matchup is, can the pitcher overpower some of these hitters? I think they can, because from the right-hand side, and typically we look to pitchers, maybe if they're lefties, going on lefties, have a little bit more success. But you figure with a left-handed dominant lineup in the lineup tonight for the Cleveland Indians, they should be able to hit, right? But if we take a look at their lineup up and down, ISO numbers are terrible. Only 2 ISO numbers on the team that actually have decent statistics versus right-handed pitchers. And that's Francisco Lindor, and that's also Zimmer. One's 278, one's 200. If we look at the weighted on-base average of the team, 6 out of the 9 guys, actually 7 out of the 9 guys, below average. So my question is, where are the runs going to come from the Cleveland Indians? Now, when you flip it over on the opposite side and you say, well, hey, how many runs do we actually need when we got Mr. Bieber on the mound tonight? How about his xFIP on the season, people? 0.77. How about strikeout percentage? This is not, he's faced 50 batters. So this is not a made-up number. He's striking out 55% of the batters he's facing. And how about his walk percentage? Only 2%. Not a lot of guys are even making contact. So if you're not making contact against Bieber and you're not walking, doesn't really lead me to believe that you're going to score a lot of runs in this game. Now, the lineup does look decent and hits right-handed pitching pretty well. Joey Votto, a 273 ISO. Moustakas, 429. Nick Castellanos, a 583. But you're going up against a dominant early-on power pitcher in this one. If I'm leaning any way in this game, if I'm looking at an 8, I'm probably going on the under. But the way I read this game overall, the Cleveland Indians team total under 4.5 suits me fine. Now, when we take a look at this game, Jason is actually feeling the money line for the Indians in this game. This could be one of those 2-1, 3-1 type ball games that we could certainly sniff out, but I just don't see 5 runs from the Indian side, even though it's mainly on the mound for the Reds. Not the greatest pitcher, but they haven't shown me anything, Cleveland, early on that they're going to be able to be dominant and just stack lefty bats and have the advantage against a right-handed pitcher here. Simon says, I've got the Cleveland-Cincinnati first 5 under 4.5. Alex says, if Bieber can go deep into the game, sure. Smash Reds running money line. Indians can't hit a lick, Austin Marshall. That's the angle I'm going with here. Taking the money out of play, taking the winning side out of play. I just think Cleveland doesn't have enough guns right now, or enough bullets in the chamber to be able to get 5 runs. Now, having said that, I would be pretty upset after 3 innings if they had 3 or 4 runs already on the board. Austin Marshall, too much money on the Indians, team who can't hit the baseball. Alex Beebs shut down the Twins, should be good to go. There's a lot to go on there. So if we're taking a look at Jason's play here on this game, likes the Indians on the money line. I actually like the Cleveland Indians under 4.5. So for me and Jason's purposes here, let's sort of 3-1 victory would sound pretty good for the Indians. So both of us can certainly cash in on this one. I got a thing for you last night, too, a little bit of a funny part. Look, I'm older. I'm 42 years old. I go to bed much earlier than most of you young kids here in the chat box. So winding down yesterday, watching the Brewers game, 6 innings, they got 4 runs up 4-2. I'm like, hey, can't wait to get on the show tomorrow to tell Jason, like, yeah, look at that. My team total came in, and also the Brewers won the game. I wake up in the morning, 6-4 final. I mean, come on now, Brewers. I mean, help a brother out right here. Jason cleans my clock in that game, 6-4 yesterday. Good for him for winning money. If you got the 9.5, usually when we line up there, it's usually a good thing. Prevailing line yesterday was 9.5. Worst case scenario at some outlets was 10. So you may be pushed in that game going with both, but I had a pretty good feeling in that game. I thought the Brewers would be able to get over there, but they certainly could not help me out. Let's keep going down the list here. 907, 908. We got Boston and Tampa Bay, Eovaldi and Morton on the mound. 7 out of every 10 tickets coming in on the Tampa Rays in this one. But we do have some reverse line movement in this game. Checking out SBRodds.com. -148 we open up at Pinnacle. -160 we open up at Chris. Now we're seeing 133, 135 across the board. And also the total coming down as well. Starting out at an 8.5 and now shifting down to an 8. Let's take a look at some of the numbers between the Red Sox and also the Rays. Let's start off with Nathan Eovaldi going up against this Rays lineup. There's not a lot to love. Looks like we're anticipating Austin Meadows being in the lineup tonight. Lowe, Diaz, Choi, Sugo. How about that for pronunciation? Wendell, Adames, Kiermaier, and Zunino. Not a lot of power in that lineup. Only 3 of the 9 batters with an ISO above a 200 and a lot of punch and Judy hitters all of a sudden behind there. Not a lot of great weighted on base averages. If we take a look also at Nathan Eovaldi, 4.01 xFIP, which isn't great, but it is the American League. Walk percentage, 4.4%, not giving away a lot of free passes. Strikeout percentage could be better. It's only about 17%. You'd like to see that strikeout percentage from a pitcher be over 20%. But he's faced 45 batters. A little bit of trouble, not so much in the power, but just the weighted on base average to right-handed batters. But when we're taking a look tonight at the Tampa Bay lineup, Meadows is a lefty, Lowe is a lefty, Choi's going to be a lefty, Satsugo's going to be a lefty, Wendell's going to be a lefty, and Kiermaier. That's 6 out of the 9 batters are going to be from the left-hand side, and that's where Eovaldi, at least in the early part of the season, through about 45 batters, has had his success. Now, when we flip it over to the Boston side, when they come to the plate going up against Morton, Morton has been a little bit shaky to start the season, a 4.35 xFIP, but his strikeout percentage is there, about 25%, not walking a lot of batters. If we take a look, he's getting some damage from the left-hand side. He's handling his business from the right side. Both the lefties are able to get to him. Benintendi, Devers, Moreland, Verdugo, and Bradley tonight from the left-hand side. In this game overall, I'm going to lean on just taking a little bit of a dog, and I'm going to go head-to-head directly here with Jason tonight. I'm going to go with the plus 128 on the Boston Red Sox down in the Dome, and he's going to go with the Rays money line. So we got a toe-to-toe, head-to-head type battle right now down there in the Dome. I just look at it and say, hey, you know what? If Morton's a little bit shaky, I think those bats might be able to wake up. Maybe a lower scoring affair. So obviously the Boston Red Sox will be in the game. I think it's a decent shot to take a dog here. Jason thinks otherwise, so we'll go head-to-head, tail of tape by the time we wake up in the morning tomorrow. Welcome in the chat box, my good friend there, DFS Bachelor. His real name, his government name is Kyle Provines. We'll be doing a football show here with Wood Sportsbook Review in the fall, bringing the pain in the NFL. And if you guys haven't done so yet, a lot of things going on here. Soccer shows in the morning, basketball shows at noon with Jay Money. Baseball shows in the early afternoon with both me and also Jason. And throughout the day, a lot of videos coming out. If you haven't checked out SBRodds.com or sportsbookreview.com, please do so as well. SBRpicks.com as well. A lot of good free information out there designed to put more money in your guys' pocket out here. Why don't we keep it moving here and see what we can find? The Mets and the rested Washington Nationals here. Got a pretty good look on this game, too. 70% of the tickets coming in, which is about 7 out of every 10 tickets on the Washington Nationals. Not a lot of line movement, but it still is going up north a little bit. Minus 140, minus 145 now, minus 153. We're even seeing it, Chris. If we take a look at a total, how about this backtrack? And I think this is due to maybe we didn't know who the pitching matchup was early on in here. Started off at a 10, now it's at an 8.5 at Pinnacle. Started off at 9.5 at Chris. That's now down to an 8.5. So some significant line movement. Let's get into the tail of the tape between these two pitchers and find out what we like in this game. If we're looking early, let's go up against Corbin. And again, he's only faced 21 batters on the early season, but an xFIP of 1.93. How about his K percentage, people? 38% of the batters that Corbin is facing this year, he has struck out. And also his walk percentage, hasn't walked a single batter yet. That's what you like, right? Striking guys out, not giving free passes. And also when we take a look at who is doing the damage, he's faced 19 batters out of the 21 from the right-hand side. Weighted on base average against him, 0.147, and an ISO of 158, doing the deal here. Now, when we take a look overall at this Mets lineup, I'm still a proponent of the Mets. I still like the Mets lineup. Woke up last night after Soroka, actually knocked around Soroka a little bit early on. We're able to finish the job against the Atlanta Braves, now traveling into town. I still think the lineup looks decent. Jimenez is going to be in the 9-hole, what it looks like. Lagares in the 8-hole, Nimmo in the 7-hole. They do have some hitters. Dozier's going to be in the lineup. But taking a look versus left-handed pitching, Conforto, Davis, and Ramos have done very well. The rest of the team, a lot to be desired versus left-handed pitching. I think a rested and ready Corbin should be able to get the job done. When we take a look at Washington's hitters, again, Matz is a lefty. There's not a lot. The most team got, like Turner and Eaton, have had 6 plate appearances versus lefties on the season to lead the team. So we're not going off of a lot of knowledge, more of a lot of feel earlier in the season. Matz has gotten hit pretty hard from the left-hand side, but not so much from the right-hand side. More of a feel in this game, because if we take a look at righties, Turner is going to be a righty, Castro, Kendricks, Cabrera, Suzuki, Keyboom, Robles, and Taylor. So we're going to load up from the right-hand side. Instead of taking a team total, which I like to look at, or maybe a total for the game, I'm leaning on the Washington Nationals over the first 5 innings. It's a little bit pricey. We just got a dog there in the Red Sox at plus 128. I'm going to lay a little bit of wood here and go with the Washington Nationals at minus 145 over the first 5 innings. I just like the pitching matchup. I think Matz isn't going to be in shutdown mode today. I think Washington could scratch out a few runs in the early on. Corbin can keep those Mets bats down. I like the first 5 innings in this game. I'm going to go with the Washington Nationals to handle their business. Thank you for tuning in here. 206 people watching live. If you're saying, who is this old knucklehead just talking here by himself, just rambling on and on? Well, we do have some power issues here in the state of New Jersey. Jason was not able to make the show. Jason might even be hovering in the chat box. But as I said, I got his plays. We'll wrap them up at the end of the show. We'll make sure we hit everything that we need to do. Let's hit the speed burst button here for a little bit. 9:15, 9:16, Schumacher and Fried on the mound tonight for Atlanta, maybe getting over a little bit of their sorrows from Soroka going down going down yesterday. 7 out of 10 tickets coming in on Atlanta. Money rising on Atlanta, 150 to 171. Total, however, people dropping. Opened up at a 9 offshore. Now we're seeing an 8.5 across the board. If we take a look at some of the quick statistics in this game here between Toronto and Atlanta, let's take a look at where Schumacher matches up. 4.85 xFIP on the season. Again, keep in mind, only 22 batters. He's actually handled himself fairly well. The reason why his xFIP is a little bit higher, K percentage under 20%, which we don't like. Walk percentage around 10%, which we don't like. But when we take a look from the right-hand side and the left-hand side, batters against him, 185 weighted on base average to lefties, 223 to righties. So he's handling his business, but this is more of a feel game to me. I'm going to lean on in the first 5 innings, going with the Atlanta Braves in this game. And I'll tell you why in just a moment here. I'm going to take the run line minus a half run over the first 5. That's still going to be minus 120. A lot of times when you take the run line, you'd like to get a plus number on the game. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case. But if we take a look here at Max Fried so far on the season, 3.64 xFIP, he's done the tail for both lefties and righties, 187 to lefties, 218 to righties with his weighted on base average. Kept the ISO real low. That's the power numbers to lefties, 0.091 to righties, 0.111. And when we take a look at the anticipated lineup for the Blue Jays tonight, don't hit left-handed pitching very well. Haven't faced a lot of it. Biggio's got 8 at-bats against lefties. Bichette's got 7. How about the ISO power numbers? The anticipated 9 guys in the lineup tonight? It's a 0. It's a 0. So we're going to lean on that. Home team stays in Atlanta. Shuffled up yesterday. Got their star pitcher hurt. Bounce back effort today. I'm going to look for the first 5 innings. Take the bullpen completely out of it. We're going to go head-to-head with Fried going against Schumacher. And I think the lineup will produce some runs for the Atlanta Braves. I'm not confident that that young lineup can do damage against Fried, just looking at the overall ISO numbers in this baseball game here. Taking a look here, Alex says, wind blowing in hard in D.C. I should drive to Nats ballpark to see which way it's blowing. By the way, they've done a great job with that ballpark, man. You see it right now where they show the outfield with, I guess it's office buildings and apartment buildings down there. What a cool spot if you ended up buying a place, because you could watch the game outside on some of those decks up top. Really cool stuff here for us. So we'll keep it going here. 201 people watching. I do thank you very much. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, get the notification button, hit everything in line. And also, if you see a little button right down there, check out SBR's free Major League Picks on www.sportsbookreview.com/pick. I'm assuming there's a little bit more than that, but I actually can't say it. And I fear if I do hit that, I will derail the show entirely. So we'll keep moving down the list. Chicago White Sox and the Milwaukee Brewers. Studied the crime last night. Come on. Yelich comes up in the 9th inning with a man on second base. Brother, base hit. We all win all the way around. Oh, well, that's why Yelich is probably hitting around 100 on the season this year. Giolito and Woodruff on the mound, 5 out of every, actually looks like about 6 out of every 10 tickets coming in on the Milwaukee Brewers in this game. That line opened up at 115, now sits at 131. But the over-under is coming up at 8.5. That line now sits at 8 across the board. If we take a look at the tail of the tape in this ball game itself, let's bring up some statistics that we can sink our teeth into. Woodruff's been really good this year. He's faced, looks like 40 batters on the season, a 2.23 xFIP. How about his K percentage? Close to 38%. Low walk rate of about 5%. Ground ball percentage. This is the key here that we look at in this day and age of launch angle teams. 73% are on the ground. That is an amazing percentage. That means only about a quarter of the baseballs that even make contact are actually in the air. So if they're not in the air, they can't leave the ballpark. Probably more likely to find a ground ball out, double play in that type of scenario. Woodruff from both sides of the plate, 226 to lefties is a weighted on base average. Right-hand side, 152, even better. We take a look at that scary lineup last night, and they can hit it any time. Down 4-2 in the 6th inning, flip it over to the 7th. Next thing you know, it's a 4-4 tie. Tack on one with I believe the 8th inning, the top of the 8th inning, a pass ball, and then they had a solo blast from Yoan Moncada in the 9th inning to do the damage there. I think Woodruff should be able to hang it in this game. If we take a look at Milwaukee's hitters, this again is the dilemma that I keep running into it again because it's early season. He's faced about 42 batters overall. If we take a look at Lucas Giolito here, 454 xFIP, getting damaged by the left-hand side. But again, the Brewers aren't doing a lot of damage from their left-handed batters against right-handed pitching, and that's where the issue comes in. Anticipate lineup tonight, Sogard will be from the left side, Yelich from the left side, Morrison from the left side, Smoke, Narvaez, and Gamble all from the left side. So you figure they should be able to lean on, and I'm going to lean on it again. I mean, I'm a glutton for punishment sometimes, but early in the season, you just have some feel and say, look, Giolito, not really a shutdown pitcher. I think they'll be able to get to him, and I'm getting a better price than I did last night when I had a 4.5 on the Brewers. Today, Brewers team total over 4, -120. So if we had 4 last night, at least we would have pushed as opposed to the loss with the 4.5. I'll take it that way. But also, I do have a play here from Jason as well, which we're going to wrap up and give the bankers out. I'm going to go over his plays, but at the end of the show, I'll tell you which one is his actual best bet. First 5 under 4.5. So he's sort of on that same wavelength with me in this game, figuring we're looking at 2 love. Woodruff's been really good, so maybe he can keep down those Chicago White Sox bats. The Milwaukee hitters, a little bit sluggish out here. They match up well from the lefty-righty perspective, but haven't been able to do a lot of damage. So maybe we're thinking in one of those games like a 4-3 game, 5-3 game overall, but he likes the under in the first 5 innings, 4.5. Takes 5 to beat you in those games. So certainly does here. Eddie, let's see what we got here. DFS Bachelor, .506 OPS versus lefties, a 715 versus righties. Says Giolito more effective versus lefties over the past 3 seasons. Yelich could use some trash can banging, Olivia Girard says. I actually agree with you there. I don't know what is going on with Yelich. Did have a couple hits last night. Solid contact in the first inning when he doubled off the center field wall. Then had a flare for a base hit, but getting a lot of, interesting things. He's looking at an MVP candidate each and every year. They're walking players ahead to get to Yelich. They actually third yesterday with 1 out. They walked a batter to get to Yelich to load the bases with 1 out and got a strikeout. That's amazing. If I would have told you 2020, forget about the COVID crisis and everything else. If we're walking to get Yelich up to the plate with 1 out and the bases loaded, that's absolute pure insanity here. Got about 15 minutes left in the show, so let's really get through these games. 919, 920, Kansas City and Chicago. On this game, I didn't really have too much of a feel on it. On the games listed where we usually like to have a side or maybe a lean on these games, I didn't have much on this. I believe the wind is still blowing in. Hendricks has been pretty good. If I'm looking overall, it's hard to take a game at Wrigley. Opened up at 8.5, now it's down to 8. Even 7.5 are showing up. I actually lean towards the under in this game. I don't know where the offense is going to come from. Maybe those Chicago Cubs bats can light it up, but I think Hendricks should be able to keep those Kansas City bats down. 921, 922, crazy games always pop off in Coors. Same thing happened last night, came right down to the wire. Gausman and Marquez on the mound. Marquez has been pretty good on the season so far. Gausman, I think he can get hit a little bit, and that's the reason why we're seeing 8 out of every 10 tickets here come in on Colorado. That line opens up at 180, even opened up as high on Chris as -215. But now sits at like 175 across the board. Totals come down a little bit. We saw yesterday the 13s and 13.5s. We opened up at 12.5 and 13 today. Now it's strictly 11.5s across the board. So certainly something to watch out for in that respect. 923, 924, Texas. Lynn on the mound versus Luzardo, the lefty. That's 6 out of every 10 tickets here coming in on Texas. If we take a look at the over-under, this one also with a market jump lower. Opened up at 8.5 at SBRodds.com. That now sits at 7.5 across the board. Opened up at 139, 135, but now has risen to 150 with the home team, Oakland Athletics. Let's get a quick preview here of what we're looking at with some stats from both sides of the plate. Lance Lynn's been very good. Weighted on base average to lefty and righties, almost identical, 152 and a 172. ISO numbers very low, striking out close to 38% of the batters he's faced. A little bit of problem with walking people, about 13%. But keep in mind also, we're only about 45 batters for him into the season. But the power numbers don't look all that great for the Oakland Athletics in this game. Simeon's got a .06 ISO. He leads off. Laureano, second hole, .080. Olsen, a 0 ISO. And again, keep in mind, this is based on the Oakland Athletic bats versus right-handed pitching. I don't see a ton of power in the lineup. Only 3+ batters for me with a weighted on base average. That's Laureano, Canha, and also Murphy. The rest, hey, a lot to be desired in this one. We take a look from the Texas lineup in this game. Luzardo's got a 455 xFIP on the season. He's only faced 28 batters here. He's doing a pretty good job. Lefties, 270 weighted on base average. Righties, a 282. Keep in mind that 320, 325 range is the average in Major League Baseball for weighted on base average. So those are below. Elvis Andrews, not a lot of hope here. Solak, not a lot of hope. Odor, not a lot of hope facing left-handed pitching. In this game, I'm on the same wavelength here as Jason is. I like the over in the game, -7.5. You can get 8. That's fantastic. Excuse me, 7.5 or 8. If you can get the 8, that would be fantastic. But I just listed it at 7.5 as an under. Jason likes the A's. It looks like A's Rangers under 4.5. So I'm going to assume that is the first 5-inning wager for Jason. So we're on the same wavelength here. I don't see a lot of runs being scored in this game. So we'll lean on the unders. I'll go full game 7.5. Jason's going to go first 5, 4.5 in that game. Poker Addicted, Donnie, what source are you using for your ticket percentages data? I use a couple of them. SBRodds.com has them. Sports Insight has them. There's a numerous. Don Best has them, a lot of stuff there, but you can't go wrong. Free service, by the way, with sportsbookreview.com. Just go into sbrodds.com. You can see in the background right there, right? See that little screen sitting right behind me? sbrodds.com. Check it out. Click the links. You'll get all those updated ticket information. And the best part about it is, if it's free, it's me. And that's what we do here at sportsbookreview.com. Couple minutes left in the show. We'll keep going. The Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. Good call last night by Jason, by the way, with Paddock and the Padres. May and Lamet will be on the mound. About 55% of the tickets coming in on the Dodgers. Lines dropped again. We've seen this a lot from the Dodgers so far on the season. Minus 135s now to minus 126. Minus 125, minus 128. So it's coming down a little bit. And also, it seems like a theme of the day here as well. Total for the game opens at 8.5. I'm now seeing 8s at this point across the board at sbrodds.com for this ball game. It's kind of interesting when you see that, because most of the indicators like, hey, man, teams are shooting it out, but you got two pretty good pitchers on the mound in this one. If we're looking at, over-unders or totals here, I had a complete pass on the game. Jason doesn't have a play on this one either. One of those, just sit back and watch. Anybody in the chat box got a feel for that, what you're looking or, doing anything in the chat box on this Dodgers-Padres game? I'm not sure, but I don't have a great feel in this game. I thought the Dodgers would be able to prevail last night. Tough game going all the way through. I believe the Dodgers got within one, I want to say, in the 9th inning last night, but weren't able to prevail. Next game here, 9:27, 9:28, Houston and Arizona. Javier and Bumgarner, 90% of the tickets. 9 out of 10 tickets coming in on Houston. And I got to say, I actually agree with that. Javier is a strikeout pitcher, has had some good success, not walking a lot of guys, striking out a lot of guys. I'm not really impressed with the Arizona Diamondbacks lineup just yet this season. And also Bumgarner struggling a little bit. I'm going to lean on going with Houston in this one. I think you're getting a decent price. Even at a heavy ticket count, the numbers are rising still. Pinnacle opened up at minus 122. Chris opened up offshore at minus 119. But if you look across the board, we're still sitting at 131s, 135. So the line is going in the right way. I like the Houston squad tonight. I'm not even going to go with a team total or anything. Let's just go with the straight money line in this one. We'll take a condensed line. Let's go minus 130 in this ball game for Houston. I think they could beat Arizona. I just like the overall 1 through 9 in the lineup. I like the pitching matchup here. And I think Bumgarner, you still see his name. You think he's a great pitcher, but not what he nearly once was even a few years ago. Jose Farfan, Astros first 5 money line. I like that play also. Beware the Houston pen. Keep it at 5. So something that we might want to take a look into. And how about this game? We're going to end with this game before we recap and go over a couple other things. Give out best bets and bankers here, see if we can make some money. Miami and Baltimore. Miami is back on the map today. Can you imagine? 19, 20 people tested positive for COVID. Prayers up to us. A week later, roughly 8 or 9 days later, they're back on the field. Good job by Major League Baseball, not panicking, not pulling the button, even though a lot of us said, shut it down, they can't proceed. It looks like they're using those 60-man taxi squads, or should I say 30-man active with a 30-man taxi squad behind it. They're going to take the field tonight. Hopefully they learn their lessons by not going out to Magic City and hanging out in hotel bars. But this game between Lopez and Means tonight, Baltimore taking the money, about 6 out of every 10 tickets, but the line's dropping here. We don't even know who's in the lineup for the Marlins tonight. Half of them a taxi squad, AAA-type players. 138s and 145s have quickly turned into minus 120. So money coming in on the Miami Marlins after losing over half of their active players during this early Major League Baseball season, and they're having to replace a lot. They are all of a sudden taking on money. My goodness, 2020 is absolutely astounding in this spot. I did have a game play written down because I'm leaning on the Baltimore Orioles in this game, not from a side perspective, but from a team total. I think that depleted bullpen, weak starter for the Marlins. I think we're going to get some runs as long as the game plays, because I know the tropical storm's running up the coast here. It should be out of Baltimore like it is currently out of Philadelphia by now. So I'm going to lean on the team total over 4.5 in that game. Crazy, though, that the Marlins are back in business. All right, people, 30 minutes into the show. I used a lot of gas over here, just running it solo and trying to give out as much information as I can. We could be here all day because I could motor mouth for the next 2 hours, but that's not the name of the game. The name of the game is get in, get out, and get some people some money out here. So let's recap some of the plays that we have on the board. First, I'm going to start with Jason. Before I give the bankers out, he is liking the Indians money line today, the Tampa Rays money line today, the A's Rangers under 4.5 in the first 5 innings, and his banker play of the day. Get this, people, his banker. First 5 innings under 4.5 in the Brewers White Sox game. Now, I have a lot of leans in my. I gave out a couple already. I like the Twins early on, 4.5 as a team total over. Cleveland Indians under 4.5. But you can recap and go over those. But my favorite play tonight is going to be a late night game. And good thing for me, I like this game in the first 5 innings. So I can maybe get to sleep at a decent hour, get up to Mark Cap, and both myself and Jason will be right back here on Sportsbook Review. I like the Angels' first 5 innings team total over 2.5. Trout's back tonight. Rendon's back. The boys are back in town. Weak pitcher on the mound for Seattle. Don't really want to lean on it going full way. I think they can feast on this pitcher and certainly over the first 3 innings, first 5 innings, pick up 3 runs in this one. I'm going to go with my banker bet of the day. The Angels team total over 2.5. Little juicy, -125, but we'll take it. And Jason's going to go with his banker. First 5 innings under 4.5 in the Brewers game. So there you have it. A couple first 5 inning wagers designed to put some money back in your pocket. Jason, as we know, like, hey, where is he at? Look, he's going to be fine. He's going to be back tomorrow. The dream team is going to be back once again on Wednesday, 1:30 p.m. We do this each and every day, Monday through Friday, 1:30 p.m. right here on sportsbookreview.com. Over 225 people watching in the chat box with you. Thank you so much. 48 likes, 0 dislikes. Hit the retweet buttons. We'll see you guys tomorrow right here on sportsbookreview.com. This is the Major League Baseball Show.